Marco Rubio and Mike Johnson both admitted yesterday on camera that the actual real reason that we attacked Iran is Israel. The imminent threat that we were warned about, that we were told about on Saturday, that there was intelligence indicating that there was an imminent threat. The imminent threat was that Israel was going to attack Iran, whether we supported that or not, and that we knew that Iran was going to hit our military bases afterwards. And there was apparently nothing we could do to stop them from doing that.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage.
They acted proactively in a defensive way because they knew that this was going to happen. Now, even he mentioned
proactively defensive.
Proactively defensive because we knew that there was someone we could not stop, and that was Israel. We just couldn't do it. When, in fact, we could stop Israel. It would be politically disastrous, probably, for the president to do that. So I don't really blame him, politically, because people on the right would freak out. But all you got to say is, hey, we don't support this, and we're not going to defend you when they hit you back. You're on your own.
You're on your own.
We're only going to act in our own defense, not yours. Tell them that, they wouldn't be making the strikes. That just wouldn't happen.
Or we stop giving them money.
Yeah,
that'd be like, hey, we're not going to send you any more funds from the American taxpayer.
Let me get to Speaker Mike Johnson.
Because Israel was determined to act with or without the U.S., our commander-in-chief and the administration and the officials I just named had a very difficult decision to make. They had to evaluate the threats to the U.S.
Just right here at this point, because Israel was determined to act with or without the U.S., and they're not determined to act with or without the U.S. They were going to act knowing that we were going to defend their asses after they made the decision. It was never with or without the U.S.
This sounds like something someone in a back room devised up. Like, how do we get around this War Powers Act? Oh, I know. We'll work with our greatest ally.
Sounds
Apparently,
like a
greatest
great ally.
Greatest ally in all of the world, not just the Middle East. Israel sits up here for some reason. We'll be like, hey, you guys tell us that you're going to attack and there's nothing we can do about it. And then that gives us this ability to be proactively defensive.
Installations to our assets in the region and beyond. And they determined, because of the exquisite intelligence that we had, that if Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets. We have troops in harm's way, and we have many Americans in the region, and that was of a great concern. If we had waited for all of those eventualities to take place, the consequences of inaction on our part could have been devastating.
We have troops in harm. Just imagine such a great ally that would just decide to go ahead and, on your behalf, just go ahead and decide to put your troops in harm's way.
Yeah, great ally.
And we've already lost the current count, unless it's changed this morning in the last couple hours. The current count is 6 U.S. troops that have been killed. All, I believe, at a base in Kuwait, which is wild. I've been to all the bases in Kuwait, and it's just crazy to think about that. Crazy to think about that happening. Now, this is interesting. This person says it's remarkable how willfully Rubio's comments were sliced up to suggest Israel dragged the U.S. into war when he explicitly said it was going to happen regardless. Probably a good moment to take a hard look at who you're letting curate reality for you. Well, I think we should.
It's so weird that Trump couldn't make one phone call to Netanyahu and say, don't you dare.
You just can't do it, man.
You wait until I can get my troops out of harm's way because we want nothing to do with this war.
It still just infuriates me that there is this chance that Trump really was trying to engage in diplomacy and come to some sort of amazing deal, and that there wasn't this actual imminent threat of Iran next week hitting the capability to be immune from any sort of retaliation, that they were just about to have a nuke just amazingly next week after we obliterated their program, and that actually there was time to continue talking to them, to continue putting pressure on them one way or another, that there was still time to do that, that it didn't actually have to happen right now. It's now or never. It was going to be too late. And that's just infuriating to me, that there's a possibility that that's a chance, and Israel forced our hand on it.
I have a friend of mine who travels quite a bit and spends like half his time in Dubai and in the Middle East. And he was telling me that when the second aircraft carrier came into the region, that the writing was on the wall, and that's why he's back in the United States. He didn't wait for an order to come back out or anything like that. He knew like, oh, okay, the second aircraft carrier, yeah, this is going to happen.
Now, keep in mind, I did say that at least there was that chance. And I do still think, once again, I'm not
like Britain and America, though, Nate.
I'm not throwing out excuses.
Does the king send her navy?
Listen, don't hear what I'm not saying. But you are talking about Trump here, and he does love a good negotiation. And what better negotiating position to have than to have not one carrier group, but two. Then you got just a little bit better negotiating power at that time.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm saying there is a chance that was a negotiating play, or that Trump also just wanted to do this. He wanted to be the guy that finally took out Iran, that finally took out
He's got to have war part of his legacy too. He can't let Bush and Obama have it.
Maybe he wanted to be that guy. He wanted to go down in history. How embarrassed must people like Liz Cheney and John Bolton and all of the war hawks out there be? How embarrassed must they be that they weren't just supporting Trump this entire time when he comes in and fulfills just their wettest dreams this entire time? That's just crazy. I bet their faces are red right now. Here's this other Marco Rubio clip, the context to be added.
The U.S. was forced to strike because of an impending Israeli action.
No, two things I would say. Number one is, no matter what, ultimately this operation needed to happen. That's the question of why now. But this operation needed to happen because Iran in about a year or a year and a half would cross the line of immunity, meaning they would have so many short-range missiles, so many drones, that no one could do anything about it because they could hold the whole world hostage. Look at the damage they're doing now. And this is a weakened Iran. Imagine a year from now. So that had to happen. Obviously, we were aware of Israeli.
A year from now, they were going to cross the line of immunity? A year from now, with whatever it is they're spending on their military for their $30,000 drones that they have, that they use to take out a $1 billion piece of equipment that we have stationed in Bahrain or wherever, we're doing our military spending all wrong. If a year from now, Iran was going to be able to hold the whole world hostage with their military, just total immunity, like a president.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is he didn't say the operation was going to happen regardless. He said, no, this operation needed to happen regardless. And that's not a question of it needed. That's not an answer to why it had to happen right now. And also that's them having to back up the decisions that they've already made. Like, we are in this operation. It's no surprise that the administration, they're going to come out and say, yeah, this operation had to happen. No, they're not going to come out and say, no, we actually didn't want to do it, and we wanted to pursue diplomacy, and Israel forced our hand. Of course they're going to come out and say, oh, this had to happen anyway. But he says they were a year or a year and a half away from total immunity.
They were going to terrorize the globe and no one would be able to touch them.
They're going to hold the whole world hostage. I'm going to switch over now because it'll flow better into the Netanyahu thing that was going around yesterday, where he talks about this immunity. So the word immunity has gone out. Netanyahu says that this had to happen now because they were going to have this immunity, but our Secretary of State says they were a year or a year and a half away from having this immunity.
We had to act now is because they were, after we hit their nuclear sites and their ballistic missiles program, you'd think they learned a lesson, but they didn't because they're unreformable. They're totally fanatic about this, about the goal of destroying America. So they started
Pause.
building new sites.
No. Imagine someone destroys your capabilities of defending yourself and you're just unreformable because you want to build capabilities to prevent something like what just happened from happening.
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, well, I don't want to be attacked again, so I need to build up some defenses. It's not that imagine when Israel is building, the United States built for Israel, the Iron Dome, and they're like, Israel didn't learn their lesson with the last terrorist attack. You would think that they would stop building these systems to defend themselves. Like it's so weird to put some countries in one category and other countries as this upper echelon ivory tower is like, we can do what we want, but you can't do what you want to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's so insane to me.
Well, they chant death to America.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were going to, yeah, you forgot about that part.
So they started building new sites, new places, underground bunkers that would make their ballistic missile program and their atomic bomb programs immune within months. If no action was taken now, no action could be taken in the future.
If you believe that, then I've got some leftover WMDs from Iraq to sell you. So no action was taken now. They're building these underground bunkers, and within months, they were going to be immune. I'll tell you what, I want to know who their contractors are, who does their permitting, because if they were able to construct some type of immune from bunker buster bunkers this fast after we just obliterated their facilities, we need to hire some of them. We don't need to kill all of them. We need to bring them over here. I want to know how they streamline this whole thing, because that's how we need to get stuff done here in America.
They could target America. They could blackmail America. They could threaten us and threaten everyone in between. So action had to be taken, and you needed to.
And that's the last straw right there. He's super worried about them being able to blackmail America. Netanyahu said, if anyone's going to blackmail America, it's going to be me.
What's so frustrating about this is we get just as frustrated about the left. It's the gaslighting, because American people aren't stupid. You're not stupid. Most of Americans are not dumb. It's a little bit easier to believe the weapons of mass destruction lie for Iraq, I think.
It was an elaborate lie.
It was an elaborate lie.
They
too.
brought paperwork. They testified.
We didn't have the information that we do now at our fingertips. It's a lot harder to get away with that kind of stuff nowadays. And so Americans can see right through the BS, and they realize, like, okay, you campaigned on America first. Trump said in his own words, why are we spending money blowing up the Middle East instead of fixing our bridges and roads and airports? And now the same people, or most of the same people, they're still, complete Trump loyalists and the MAGA bots on X that are trying to spin the narrative. But most rational people can see that, hey, look, this doesn't seem to be an American first type of agenda. This is going against your campaign promises. Like, we don't believe what you're telling us. And of course, you can't get away from the AIPAC money, the amount of money that Israel has spent on this administration. With all the leaks and fraud and everything going on, there's no trust in government whatsoever. And then now you have these decisions being made where the American people, for the most part, I think, and I believe, are just fed up with it. They don't believe the lies of the left when it came to COVID-19, and now they're not going to believe the lies of the Trump administration, and we're left between choosing two insane political parties.
It's not good.
And there's no home for the people, for the rational people who just want the truth.
You're left stuck in this decision where you're choosing between the person that you're least afraid of out of your two options that are going to win every year. It's like not the option you really want, but I'm more afraid of the other person than I am of this person. And so I have to make that choice. The last thing, we don't believe the BS right now. We don't believe why this is America first. We have no idea why we are actually involved in this, except for we do know why we're involved in this. But they want us to believe that it's for some other reason other than Israel. And they've done a terrible job making that case. I don't blame them for doing a terrible job, because there isn't a case. I'm like somehow expecting them to make a good case for something that doesn't exist. And there isn't one. So no wonder they haven't done a good job making the case to the American people for why they should be afraid of Iran. All the dangers that Iran can inflict upon us are on our military bases in places we have troops stationed that we shouldn't even have troops stationed. You know, we were worried about them sinking our ships that we only put over there around their country to threaten them. And then it became a threat against us that they talked about sinking our ships we had just sent over there to threaten them.
We put more people in harm's way.
Like, we're constantly putting pawns in front of them for them to knock over, and then saying the danger to us is that they might hit the pawns that we just put in front of them. And it's like bait on a line. Fishing out there is how we treat the troops that are stationed over in the Middle East. And
imagine like breaking into someone's home. This is the story you tell the cops. Like, you broke into their home, and you were afraid that the homeowner was going to shoot you, so you shot him first.
Yeah, that's, someone's probably used that defense before, and depending on what state you're in, that might have flown. I don't know.
I feared for my life.
Yeah,
because the likelihood the homeowner was going to shoot me. Well, why were you there in the first place?
Yeah, that's probably a real court case in California, and
why
I'm not exactly sure who won. So now it comes to, well, the people aren't convinced that this is in America's interest, and that's clearly shown by the polls on this. And so what's supposed to happen? The people's representatives are supposed to say something about this. We've had many conversations about the War Powers Resolution of 1973, but we keep getting a little bit more information. And one thing I noticed yesterday from now both Rubio and Johnson is that I feel vindicated. They agree with me. They're on our side, okay? But Trump's not.
But they're not.
They know that constitutional or unconstitutional as the War Powers Resolution is, that it clearly lays out the constitutional ways that the president can send our armed forces in the harm's way. And it says either a declaration of war, an authorization to use of military force, or a national emergency created by an attack upon the United States, its territories or possessions or whatever else. And that's how it says the constitutional uses, the constitutional powers of the president, exercised only pursuant to those three things that I just named for you. And you know who knows this? Mike Johnson knows this. Rubio knows this. It does not just magically authorize the president to send us into an offensive war for 60 days, for 60 or 90 days. It doesn't. What it lays out is what the limitations on the president are, and then it is Congress's job, when the president shows them, this is why we did this. And by the way, when he shows them that, it's supposed to say, and this is why it's constitutional. And by the way, the law lines out what the president's constitutional powers are, pursuant to those three things that I just named you. And this is why we think it's constitutional. And then he does that within 48 hours, 60 to 90 days. They got to vote whether or not he can continue doing it. Okay. Now, what you heard from both Rubio and Johnson yesterday, Rubio mentioned it. This was a defensive action. We had to act proactively in a defensive capacity. Johnson does the same thing here. Only he points out that I was a constitutional law attorney or whatever.
How do you sleep at night, Mike Johnson?
Because
guess what? They're going to get away with it.
Oh yeah,
everyone in Congress
it's got no chance.
They're all going to buy the story.
But these things are so important. It's like the Barbary Pirates thing. Like there are things throughout history, or there are laws that have just been completely bastardized, just completely misused. The Barbary Pirate story, like if you could spend like 10 minutes looking it up, and you would find that Thomas Jefferson refused numerous times to take offensive actions until he got authorization from Congress. Only defensive actions. They were told only defensive actions. We don't have authorization from Congress yet, so we're not going to do a Barbary Pirates thing right now. The War Powers Resolution, what it essentially says is if it's not one of those three things, it's Congress's job to act and say, you have to stop. You got to bring them back home. They don't have to wait 60 to 90 days. They can do it right now. They
Also,
can
by the
refuse
way-
to fund it. They can say no funds can be used for this thing right here. Any of the actions you're taking, you guys got to come back.
You know, and you know what they could do, because people will be like, oh, we have to wait for the slow process of Congress and everyone's going to know or whatever. No, they can do closed door sessions. They can absolutely do closed door sessions. Intelligence can brief Congress. They have a subcommittee for this that they do anyway. They brief Congress. They have a closed door session. People vote. This all can be done in secrecy. They give the president authorization, declaration of war, and then they go attack Iran, and then the media covers it. And they're like, oh, look, we have a declaration of war from Congress. This is absolutely doable and plausible. The whole point is for it to slow down, to have debate. As Ron Paul said, this is war. People are going to die.
Like, it's supposed to be
Does
slowed
life
down.
not matter?
The only time you don't slow it down is when it's defensive. Obviously, if someone is bombing you, you don't want to have to wait a couple days for Congress to figure stuff out. You can take immediate actions, obviously.
Yeah.
But when you're taking a war of choice, an offensive action, because as the Secretary of State just said, they were a year or a year and a half away from being immune to every country on the planet, apparently, you got time. You can go slower. Now, as Magoo pointed out in the group, what actually happened here was they were all lined up. Israel was watching. We were watching. The CIA was watching. Mossad was watching. And all of a sudden, Khomeini popped his head out of the gopher hole and went out for breakfast one morning. And so they were like, holy crap. He actually just came out of the bunker and he's sitting down there at Waffle House eating breakfast, praising Allah right now. That's crazy. We're going to have to go now. I can't believe he's actually right there, and that's why it actually happened right now. Because they were probably shocked.
It was not just him. It was a bunch of
other people. Yeah, his family, his granddaughter, like all kind of, all that kind of stuff.
They're like, oh, we could drop one bomb and take out like 12 leaders. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So here's Mike Johnson admitting that it has to be defensive.
Mr. Speaker, is there at any point you think Congress will need to give congressional authorization?
So, my background. I'm a constitutional law attorney. I'm a jealous guardian of Article 1 in the legislative branch. My understanding of the law has always been, and this is the tradition and the way the law has been used and observed over many decades, the president was acting well within his authority. What I just told you is the scope of what happened here and the situational awareness that they had at the time to make this decision. It was not. It's not a declaration of war. It's not something that the president was required, because it's defensive in nature and in design and in necessity, to come to Congress and get a vote first.
It's not something that was required. Why? Because it's defensive in nature. Yet all these same people are going to be, or maybe not him, but all these people arguing online, and I get online's not the real world or whatever, but a lot of people believe this. It's not something that was required. He just said because it was defensive in nature. Now, he's lying about it being defensive. Okay. I'm not saying he's right about the whole thing, because they've just decided to take this whole situation and call it defensive. But he said it out loud. He didn't need authorization because it's defensive. Not offensive, defensive.
I'm more mad about him qualifying his credentials first and then going on to bastardize him throughout the rest of the interview.
Well, I mean, what he says afterwards is, my understanding is that it's not required because it was defensive in nature. I mean, like as far as the law goes, well, I mean, he's lying about that, but he's right in what he's saying about the law. He's spelling out the letter of the law correctly. He's just lying about, the actual facts on the ground at the same time.
If they had briefed a larger group than the Gang of Eight, there's a real threat that very sensitive intelligence that we had, might have been leaked or something. So this is why the Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces has the latitude that any commander-in-chief, any president always has, because they have a set of information that is sensitive, timely, and urgent, and they have to be able to act upon it. They did that. Now, as you know, under our system, there are timetables that are involved here, but...
How do you have secretive, timely, urgent information about taking actions in defense of your country because there's a national emergency created by an attack on the United States. Seems like that'd be pretty obvious. You know, oh, that building just blew up. That's pretty crazy. You know, that's not like a secretive, top secret, confidential information that people don't know. You just got attacked. You know, no one has to lie about that.
I think the idea that we would move a War Powers Act vote right now, I mean, it will be forced to the floor, but the idea that we would take the ability of our commander-in-chief, the president, take his authority away right now to finish this job is a frightening prospect to me. It's dangerous, and I am certainly hopeful, and I believe we do have the votes to put it down. That's going to be a good thing for the country and our security and stability.
Okay. So he thinks it's very dangerous for us to even take the chance of voting on Thomas Massey's resolution to try and stop this thing, to take that authority away from the president, which you couldn't even take if it was truly defensive in nature. You couldn't even take that away. The issue here is that it's not defensive.